Hey everybody, it's Max. I'm going to take some time here in this video to talk to you about adding mods to your gear. Now, if you're like me, and I know I am, then your modification inventory looks something like this. A whole bunch of things, a bunch of crap, a bunch of stuff everywhere. And I know in the early days when we used to get legendary mods, we were just looking for that extra 5 points to push that power level up a little higher. And I know I was guilty of that myself, where I didn't really care what they were, or I didn't really investigate how it affected my gameplay. But at this stage of the game, we should be a little more, choosy, and maybe put a little more in-depth thinking into the way we do these. So that's what I'm going to cover here in these videos. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking to you guys about the weapon side of modifications. That's pretty standard, pretty easy to understand. You know, you get the +5 for your kinetic to get your higher level, and then you can change the elemental damage on your energy and your power weapon. But what we're really going to focus on is this other side here, which is your armor. This is the gear that has a lot of different mod options. They can either affect how your guns work, they can affect how your abilities recharge, and you want to tailor these to the specific activity the armor is going to be used in. And I'll go over that here with the different sets that I use and where I use them. Now I want to look here at these gauntlets. I used to carry this one with the class ability, and then I just recently got this munitions loader. Now the kinetic munitions loader, faster reload speed on your kinetics, possibly my favorite of all the mods you can have. Recoil would be my second, but I was really excited when I got this one. Plop that one right away as fast as I can. Anything you can get your reload speeds better. But for the rest of my setup, I'm augmenting my class abilities. You think about it, you're doing PvE. You got more control and more time. You can set the pace in the events as they're going. So getting those the barricades, the grenades, things like that, I can afford myself the time to make that happen. So anytime I run my PvE setup, that's what I'm focusing on, is class abilities. Now you'll notice also, for the most part, except for that mark down there, that my PvE setup is running masterwork items on all of them. The reason I did that, it's not so much that I want that extra bonus so that when I'm in my super I don't get killed. The damage resistance is nice, but honestly I can keep control of that a little bit better in a PvE setting. But the reason I did this was because I can tune this armor to get my 3 stats, mobility, your recovery, and your resilience, to where I like them. I don't really put a lot of stock into the mobility, as you can tell. I mean, this is a Titan, but even on my other characters I don't. And something tricky about this, and it's kind of what the general consensus is amongst all the other players out there, there's a sweet spot as far as those numbers go, and it's between 4 and 7. From 1 to 3 you're not really seeing a lot of improvement. From 7 or from 8 up to 10, yeah, you will see some improvement, but honestly the points you're putting in there you're not getting enough out of, and it's better to have a stat, but several stats between 4 and 6 than to have one. Now if you look here, my greaves here, it's a mobility set, and I don't like that, so I can go here with the masterwork and I can apply a core to re-roll that. If you look to the right down at the bottom here, you'll see I've got 1 bar in mobility. I don't want that 1 bar in there. But by spending a Masterworks core, I have the chance to change it. But it didn't work. But I have more. And that worked just fine. So now I've changed this from the mobility set to more of a resilience, to a heavy armor set. And you'll see the effect it has there on my stats. And I'd rather have a 7 than a 2. So, this is exciting. This is where I want to be. So next, I want to cover what I use for PvP. For the most part, it's all Iron Banner set. Just like the look of it, hey, and the shaders. Thought it was cool. But any armor you get, you can use in a PvP setting. You'll notice that, again, no mobility, and I'm running a good 6 on recovery and resilience. I don't necessarily always wear this helmet. I usually use Striker Titan, so a lot of times I'll go with the Skullport instead of the Iron Banner helmet. But when I'm playing PvP, the mods that I'm looking for are strictly weapon based. I want better reload speeds. I want better recoil control. Because the abilities are nice, but to be honest with you, it's about gunplay and reflex actions. And I don't like getting killed in the Crucible when I'm reloading. That's when you usually get nailed. So everything I have as far as PvP is built just for that, except for these guys here. I haven't gotten a mod yet to do it. As soon as I get a mod that's weapon based, I will be switching that one out. But you know what, grenades is good. Using 2 grenades anyway from the subclass, because I usually run striker. But I usually switch to the Skull Fort and use my weapon based mods, and this is what I find works a lot better for me in a PvP setting. So I've got my runaround PvE set, and I've got my standard Crucible PvP set. So the only thing left out of the extra ones I have is the set that I use for doing the raid. Now, just recently they created all these raid mods that are specific for the things that happen in the raid. And on all of my gear, that's what I use. Even in some cases where I'm not getting a total benefit, it's still, it's a raid mod. I'm going to put the raid mod on. Any bonus you can get while you're in there works well. But you could if you wanted. I mean, if you wanted to put anything on there, you can. I would suggest that for the mark and the gauntlets, you should always run the raid perks. They're just too good. But you'll notice when I change the full set, my stats still stay the same. I did re-roll some of these. I don't have a set of boots yet that I've masterworked. So there is one little set point there that I got to deal with. But I took the mobility off of all these things, and still I'm plenty happy with how fast and how slow my guy moves in the raid. But yeah, again, tuning this to the raid perks, to the activity that I'm actually going to be doing. So there you go. As it stands, I got my 3 sets of armor, things I like to run around with, tuned specifically for what I want bonuses in each activity to be. Mods, you can get them from Banshee. That's where you spend all your weapons parts. I don't actually look for the guns anymore. It's all about what mods I can pull and which ones I can try to get. Anytime I get an abundance of glimmer, this is where I'll spend it. Buy these blue ones. If you do the weapons parts, obviously you'll get a couple mods that drop, maybe at least 1, maybe 2. In this case I got 2, and transfer them over. Now also, once you start getting too many of one, you can go ahead and just disassemble them, especially if it's something that you don't like or you're not going to use, because then you can use that in order to purchase the ones that you don't ever find, such as the kinetic one there that you could buy from Banshee. He sells it occasionally, and usually anytime I'm in the tower, I'll just zip on over to old boy and see what he's got. If he has those, I'll go in, delete a couple that I don't care for. Things I don't use, you'll notice that I don't really have a whole lot of melee. So anytime I get a melee, and also I don't put a lot of stock in adding the ones that give you additional stat bonuses. Once I hit that 4 to 7 range, I'm usually pretty happy with where it goes. So that's where most of my masterwork or my mod cores come from, is getting them through here. So that pretty much sums it up, guys. Just a little bit of tuning, and don't be afraid to apply one. And if you don't like the result, you don't feel that it's working for you, you wanted something else, by all means change it. Practice and running through, that's going to be one of the best ways to find out if what you've got set up is working and what's not. So if you're in PvP and you're finding that, man, I need my grenades faster, well, throw some grenade mods on. Or in PvE, if you're thinking, you know what, this gun's great but it bounces, well, throw a recoil mod on it. But if you have any questions, guys, let me know, and as always, I'll see you out there. Have a good one.